reality of what people are aware of in America. Now, for those who also know what's happening in Swaziland, they may not be involved with media as much, so they wouldn't be able to air or to broadcast or to report on what's happening in Swaziland. One of the projects that I started recently is called Pan-African Report, and I plan, as I build this platform, to talk about some of these issues, what's happening in Swaziland and some of the political unrest that's happening there, some of the disparities that are happening in there, some of the oppression that the people feel and are experiencing in your country. So at least there'll be an additional voice for some of the atrocities and some of the inequitable treatment that's occurring. But you need many more. You need people like you to go out and talk about what's happening. You need your friends, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your moms, your dads, whoever is in a place of being able to share that information, to put it out there, to make people more aware. And as the voices grow louder, more attention is called to it, and then perhaps there will be more decisive and expedited change. Unless that happens, it will be very incremental, and a lot of people will be unaware. Lastly, I'll say, just to put things in perspective, we're heading into the end of the year. We're talking about rising prices and inflation on everything. If you think about it, a lot of people think about what's happening to their wallets and their pocketbooks. So again, that's where their number one attention is. It's not, Americans don't have that same global awareness that you may even find in Europe. Some of our media is very isolated, just talking about Western issues, American issues, what's happening at our borders, not even what's happening in the UK or France or Spain or Russia, for example, only if it's in reference to the Ukraine-Russia war. So again, awareness about what's happening in other countries can be very low here, and especially when it comes to issues like Africa, where those are usually an afterthought when talking about the global perspectives of socio-political information and news.
Wow, Doctor. In fact, I wanted to ask you something like, what advice can you give to Swazi journalists on the issue of alerting you guys about what is happening in Swaziland? Because we know that there's power in our media platforms, but now people are wondering, how can we communicate with these guys? Because we know your countries are so powerful. If you can intervene, we can get our democracy as soon as tomorrow. So what advice can you give to Swazi journalists to collaborate with you guys so that you can start reporting about what is happening in Swazi?
Your sound was just clipped at the end there, but I think your main point was, what can Swazi journalists do? And that is to write. One of the basic fundamental responsibilities of journalists is to tell a story. What is happening there? How can you put that into perspective so that other people can understand what's happening? If someone is living on, $1 a day and they can't feed their family, talk about those stories. If someone was killed by perhaps a member of the police force unjustly because they were standing there or speaking in opposition and they were just killed summarily, talk about those issues. No one is going to know about them unless they are discussed, unless stories are being told. And then when you share those stories, try to reach out to people in the US. You can reach out to me if you'd like. I'm at panafricanreport@gmail.com. If you have some stories that you would like to share and that we can talk about and that we can discuss, that I could even put on the website or to tweet about, let me know at panafricanreport@gmail.com. If you can reach out to other journalists who might be doing other things, there are other media platforms out there on YouTube, for example. I believe another one is Pan-African Diaspora news channel. If you look on YouTube, if you look them up online, you should be able to find some other outlets and other journalists who would be willing to take on your stories and willing to share what's happening. And then you could also reach out to US lawmakers, particularly those who have ties to African interests. As we know, the US is looking to build trade and relations with various countries in Africa. Reach out to those lawmakers who might be more sensitive to those issues. And you have to be persistent. It can't just be one story in the month of October and then you check back 6 months from now. Try to do it every day or several times a week. This is something you're passionate about. This is something that affects your life and the lives of those who you love, who you care about. Treat it as such and be persistent. Keep telling those stories. Reach out to people who might be influential in Swaziland, but also in Western countries, including the United States. And you have to be not just persistent, but also consistent. Keep it going, all right? And eventually you'll start to see change.
Oh. Thanks a lot, Dr. Sister. So do you have something? Balalele Makaya, nitanvulela, because I know I did read your messages. I saw people saying, yeah, Zulu, please open the lines for us. We want to talk to Dr. Campbell. Yeah, people are so eager to talk to you, Doctor. Then I'll open the lines after Sister Sue has posed a question to you. Our viewers at home, you'll be able to call us through WhatsApp on this number, +27767206 I repeat, +27767206 Sister Sue, do you have any question before we can take in calls?
Yes, Zulu, I do. So Dr. Campbell, some of these questions were posed by actual Swazi citizens living in Swaziland. I asked them for a number of questions, and this is one of them. So please explain the concept of the population choosing a government through regular, free, and fair elections.
So that is a system that was developed during the recreation of the United States and post-colonial United States. So again, we have to keep in mind that the U.S. democracy is about 240 years old. I think this year might make 239 years. Next year will make 240. And democracy was established after the Revolutionary War. And we, not we, but the founders of this country, the early Europeaners who came and settled here, were escaping and leaving the monarchy of which we know was in Great Britain. So they had more of a monarchy, they had more of that feudal, almost like a contemporary feudal system, and the colonists were leaving that system and trying to create a new system where people would be more represented in the US and in their communities and their homes. Now, what the US has is really a representative